Yes, I liked it.
How much?
I
Like on a
definitely-
scale of 1 to 10.
Okay, the quick and dirty of whether or not I liked Oppenheimer. I'll give it a 7 because 8 and 8.5, 8 to 10, I'll watch again. I don't know if I'll watch it again. So maybe it's a 7.5. Really good movie, but I think I got what I needed from it, if that makes sense.
I wish I knew more about the political history behind it because I felt a little lost sometimes.
I feel the same way, but what would you give it?
Just on I think you have to separate it out. Like I'm kind of like you, 7. But if you graded it on just movie making and the actors, how good the actors acted, oh man, there was acting in that movie.
It was very enjoyable.
Like a 10.
Very enjoyable.
Yeah, the conversations were excellent. The acting was excellent.
So to me, Christopher Nolan, in my opinion, is one of the only, here I am going to praise Christopher Nolan. I love Christopher Nolan movies. Interstellar is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Inception's one of my favorite of all time.
Christopher Nolan has proven, I feel like, that he can take one of the more mundane, some of the most mundane stuff and make it interesting. Because really, this movie is just conversation after conversation after conversation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And
for 3 hours.
For that to be interesting for 3 hours was impressive.
I thought going into this, the movie was going to be the build up to the bomb, and the bomb was like going to be the end of the movie. And it's like the bomb happened, and then the movie continued for 2 more hours. Talking and talking and talking.
So we're going to dive into spoiler territory, but is it worth the watch before we dive into spoiler territory? Me, absolutely. Definitely worth the watch. It was an enjoyable experience. It is 3 hours long, so not worth the watch if you are only into action flicks and if you're not into long epics.
Yeah, my husband was like, long and boring, no thanks.
It's snooze fest or something like that. Which, hey, to be fair, if you like more action and fast-paced stories, this is not your bag.
Yeah.
Like, for real. So, spoiler-free, I think go watch the movie. But we can talk about, we are both Christians, and this channel we're Christians, unashamed, unabashedly Christian. I give that review on just entertainment. Should you watch the movie? Is it entertaining? Now, for a quick second, let's talk about, as a Christian, it is rated R. As a Christian, do you think you should watch the movie?
I feel like as long as you trust yourself to turn your head, it's easy to turn your head during this movie, and the sex scenes didn't last very long. And they weren't, I don't know how graphic they were because I didn't look, but they weren't something that audibly you felt uncomfortable for a long time. Like you heard some talking and then it was over. I would say go see it if you can trust yourself to turn your head.
Oh, so you're just thinking about the sexual, the nudity.
I only remember like one curse word.
Yeah, there is like frontal nudity in the movie.
See, I don't even know how much nudity there was because I saw something coming and I went like that.
I glimpsed back and forth. And deliberately would look away.
You're such a man.
Then I would look at you guys to see whether you and Travis were looking too. It's like that checking each other, so we could talk about it later. But there is some sexual content, a little bit explicit. In my opinion, if you're using the scenes that have the sexual content to you're getting your jollies off these scenes, you're getting really hot under the collar on these scenes, it's a little weird. Like you said, I don't think they're those kind of scenes.
Well, yeah, they were used more...
storytelling.
For tension.
Yes.
It wasn't like a titillating thing.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you're using it for it's a super turn on, you're weird, I think. a little weird, no offense.
Yeah, it was some of the scenes were meant to make him uncomfortable.
Yes. And they were shot deliberately feeling that way. The nudity was used to make people uncomfortable. Absolutely. This content is brought to you by notgospelstudios.com. If you want to support the channel but don't know how, just click on over to notgospelstudios.com, follow and subscribe to us on all of our listening platforms, and then click the store icon where you can purchase Not Gospel Studios merch, including custom spray art. If you'd like your own custom spray art painting, just click the custom spray art icon, and as you're checking out, in the additional notes section, tell us what you want on your painting. We'll create your painting, post the video of it, and you can watch the entire process of how your painting was created while you're waiting for your custom artwork to arrive at your door. As always, thank you guys so much for listening and watching and supporting, and keep being awesome, because that's how God made you. In terms of ideology and that kind of stuff, for Christians, whether you should watch it or not, I feel like
I've seen so much worse.
I feel
that was PG-13.
I feel like the movie was geared towards had some leftist tendencies. Not that that's Christian
I
or...
don't know. They were against the communists constantly in this.
Well, see, they painted the light that being against the communists, that the fascists were trying to silence communists, I felt like. They were definitely against Hitler, obviously, but communists don't necessarily consider the Workers' Socialist Nazi Party communists, you know. And they definitely in this movie tell the story of the witch hunt of the 40s and 50s and 60s for communists.
Yeah.
You know, and they basically talk about censorship and how it's the conservatives, more or less, who are, you know, strangling the life out of free thinkers is what they're kind of doing, because they're saying people should be allowed to say what they want. You know, so there is a little bit of this classical leftism of the freedom of speech and all that. But as someone who's read Marx and read those, I understand that it's, you know, it's been tried. That stuff isn't quite what they sell it to be. It's not the communist utopia of the future. But I do feel like even if it was intended to gear things towards the left a little bit, I think that gets flipped on its head when you consider the fact that the people spearheading the censorship now are people on the far left. That cancel culture and all that stuff, how you can't say a single word right now, just even misgendering somebody, just something that's completely, I mean, it should be innocuous. It can get you banned off social platforms.
Yeah.
So if anything, their attempt to kind of show leftist ideology a little bit, like in the classic theme of back in that time, kind of exposed the whole cancel culture thing as being terrible now. So I think Christians can watch it. I do agree. If you can trust yourself, there is some language. They had a couple GDs in there, I thought, like one or two.
Yeah, I heard one or two curse words, but not enough to really remember or think about. It kind of passed by real fast.
It's so funny to me when you get into period pieces, the prevalence of smoking.
Yeah.
Like, and back in the 50s, 40s and all that stuff, like everybody smoked. And so every movie, it's like nonstop smoking in every scene, in public, indoors, you name it. And I always think that's neat. Not that that's anti-Christian or whatever. As a Christian, I enjoyed the story. I'm one who isn't triggered. Like, I'm not going to walk away from it and be all, man, I'm probably going to screw up today. Like, I'm going to say a bad word or something. You know, that's not who I am. I'm not influenced like that. So definitely worth the watch. And it was definitely, in my opinion, pretty quality, mature entertainment, even if you are a Christian.
Oh, yeah. And it's not something I would take a teenager to, though.
No. Well, you'd be in some of those scenes, you'd be uncomfortable. I would be uncomfortable sitting across from, if my sons were teenage and they're seeing that, I'd be like, all right, fellas. And they'd be like, Dad, quit, you know, or whatever. But anyways.
But I was thinking like 16, 17, 18. While they could see it and probably understand the movie, I think it'd be too boring. And I just don't think it's a good teenager movie.
If your favorite movies are Marvel movies, probably not going to be a watch for you. If your favorite movies are more epics, more story building, this kind of stuff, world building, you know, and character development and revelation, if you like Scorsese movies, you'll really enjoy this movie, I think. It's very much up there. If you like this clip from the Not Gospel Studios channel, don't forget to share. Click on one of the other links and videos. You can find them here and here, and subscribe. I think it's down here. Tell your friends about us. Tell them that it's healthy, that it's vegan, and all of those things. Keep being awesome, because that's how God made you.